Hi folks, Robert O'Brien from O'Brien Guitars here, and in my hands is a 1992 Ramirez classical guitar. I've seen quite a few of these in my shop over the years, and they all have the same problem. The action is too high at the 12th fret, and there's not enough bone saddle exposed at the bridge location to be able to lower it to correct the action. Ramirez set their action up a lot higher than most people anyway, sometimes well above 4 millimeters. And most classical players think that's just a bit too high. They like to get a little lower. What I shoot for is 3.5 millimeters on the sixth string and 2.5 millimeters on the first string. And so the Ramirez from the factory is just well above that, and there's not enough room to adjust that. There's two ways to fix that. One, replace the fretboard. That's pretty major surgery. But you can put a thicker fretboard in there, and that would allow you then enough room here at the saddle location to be able to fix that. The other way to fix that, and what I preferred, is to plane the fretboard, plane it at somewhat of an angle. And the Ramirez, the way that they do their traditional Spanish building is they leave it thick on the nut end. The fretboard's very thick at the nut end, and it's a lot thinner here because they taper it down. And this lends itself well for the corrective action that I like to take. Take all your frets out, plane the angle into the fretboard. If you take a couple of millimeters off here, you get a couple of millimeters gained back here. And that's usually enough to fix the problem. And that's what I'm going to do on this guitar and what I've done on most Ramirez guitars. So to do that, it's pretty major surgery as well. You start by removing the strings. Then you have to remove all the frets. Getting frets out of ebony can sometimes be difficult, but I have a pretty slick little tool that I use to do that. I've talked about in other videos. Pull those frets right out, and then the fun begins. I start with a series of hand planes, another number 5 jack, number 4 smoother, block plane, scraper plane, whatever you can find that will work. I usually like to begin with a scraper plane or something just to see what that ebony is going to do, if it's going to chatter or tear or something on me. So before you even begin, take some measurements, see what the adjustment's going to need to be, and that'll tell you how much you can take off this end to get the adjustment you need to back here. So just place a straight edge across there, measure your gap back there at the bridge location, figure out how much you need to take off. Also take some measurements of the action at the 12th fret and figure out what you have to actually come down to get it right. Then start with your planes. I like to start with that scraper plane just to see what that ebony is going to do. If it's going to get wild and crazy on me, I want to know about it before I just have at it with a big old jack plane. And then spend some quality time with that jack plane or whichever plane you decide to use, and bring it down at the nut. Measuring as you go. It's very important. And once again, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You take 2 millimeters off here, you gain 2 millimeters down here. So go slow, measure as you go. Also, don't plane your fret slots away. Technical term for that is bad. If you need to, and you're going to need to, deepen them as you work so they just don't completely disappear. So after you work up a good sweat and perhaps even a few swear words, you start to get close to what you need. Check it as you go. Place your straight edge on there. See what you're actually doing down here at the bridge location, if you're getting the action that you need or the amount of gap that you need. Once you get it all done and you think you've got enough taken off with the fret, go ahead and use a sanding, or at the nut end, go ahead and take a sanding block. I like to use the LMI precision sanding bars or leveling bars. Go ahead and use those to feather that back into just past your 12th, 13th, 14th fret, and make sure everything's nice and level. Once that's done, go ahead and install your frets, do your fret work. We won't go into that here. There's a couple of courses on the Luthier Academy website, one by Michael Baskin, one by Kent Everett, that goes into fret work. Once you get the strings back on, then you need to put it through a setup. Now on the nut end, you can usually salvage the existing nut because it's going to come down. So just lower the nut end down there, take it from the bottom side, and the client won't even know that you've made an adjustment to the nut other than it's just lower because it's exactly the same nut. On the saddle location, you're probably going to have to make a new saddle. Not a big deal. Go ahead and make a new saddle and adjust the action to what you want. This guitar came out right at 3.5 millimeters at the 6th string on the 12th fret. I'm about 2.57, 2.58 on the 1st string, which is exactly where I like to see it. So, mission accomplished. Pretty major surgery. Don't try this at home, boys and girls, but that is a fix for the Ramirez action problem due to the neck angle.